One of my favorite kinds of men's necklaces is these deer antler ones. And basically, to get the deer antlers, you're gonna have to go out and wrestle some deer. The males have the antlers, as far as I know, so those are the ones you're gonna have to wrestle and try to see if you can get the antlers from them. The females, you might want to just wrestle just for practice, but you're gonna have to take on a pretty aggressive buck, and really the more of a fight they put up, the better the antlers is what I found. But anyway, there's a few different ways to do this, and you're gonna need some kind of industrial saw. A bandsaw is the best. There's other types of saws you could get away with, but be careful, always use safety. You could technically use a hand saw, but it's gonna be a lot of effort, and if you're only gonna make one pendant once in a while, then I guess you have that time to put in some elbow grease and cut through. They're not much more difficult to cut through than heavy wood, so that's the good news. And then a little sandpaper to touch up around the edges and you should be good. If you want to put a hole in them, then you're also going to need a drill, but generally drills are much less expensive than like a bandsaw, which usually runs around 200. There's three different ways that I use them. I slice across the fat part like this to make a really cool pendant. I slice across smaller parts and then drill holes to make, chunky beads for the sides of a necklace or for a chunky bracelet. Or I use the tips, not this long, I would cut them about right there. Generally, after that, I wire wrap them, although you don't need to. You could just put a ring in them, with like one jump ring and a leather cord, and you're good to go. But a lot of the people on this channel do wire wrapping, and that adds a really cool touch that you're not going to find anywhere else. I've really never seen anyone else doing deer antler pieces wire wrapped. So that's something unique that you guys can take that probably a lot of people have never seen. If you don't want to go out in the forest and wrestle the deer yourself, then, I'm going to have to feel bad for you a little bit because you're missing out on the experience. But you can probably get some hunters who might be able to donate some deer antlers to you if you live out in that kind of area. They shed them, so you don't have to worry about any deer being harmed, technically, although it's a lot more fun that way, if you get to actually wrestle them. But you can also order them online. You can order all kinds of bulk deer antler pieces, and I believe you can order just the tips. I'm not sure if the tips will be cut small enough to do the size pendant you want, but I'll try to put some links in the descriptions for you guys. I usually wrap these in 20 or 18 gauge. I find the dark colors work better. Antique copper, the antique brass, black gunmetal. That's pretty much those three. You could do silver, but it's a weird dynamic with the kind of cream colored bone look. Just wrap these. Look at a gazillion videos I have on wrapping pendants with a little hole drilled at the top. Or if you don't feel like it, just watch this and we'll do a whole new one from scratch. But it's super easy. Which one you guys want me to pick first? Huh? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, if you say so. Just get it through the hole, come to the middle like every other one of my videos. This is like, you get it through there, you pinch it, and you give it a couple twists. And then you wrap it in a loop around your finger, or you can use pliers, whatever. But you basically get the loop as tight as you want, and then wrap it around, and basically you're just gonna come around and around and around, making designs each time you come around. And then when you get to the bottom, you're just gonna bring it straight up to the top, wrap it around what I call, this is the face, and you give it a scarf. Wrap it around about 3 times. Cut it, tuck in the sharp ends into that little bowl that's made when you wrap it. That's it, it's done. And then you put it on a freaking amazing leather cord, because that's what men love, is amazing leather cords. Get a few wood beads. Try to get 2mm round cord. It's the best stuff. You can get it a few different ways. It's better to get a whole spool of it, like 25 yards, 25 meters usually, because then you get the best deal. But yeah, do that. And if you get wood beads, usually wood beads have like big enough holes to fit through this 2mm leather. You might find some stone beads that do too. So let's get this going. So let's just, you don't even need pliers for this part. You just keep pressing it tight, pressing it tight. Just make some crazy fun patterns. And that's pretty much it. If you want to keep it simple, sometimes guys like it simpler. They don't want all these swirls. Sometimes they don't care. It depends on the guy. And oh, look at that. Take a little bit more wire than I say. Generally, that's the rule for the videos. Well, this one just made it. That one has too much. I think I just didn't take it to the middle. That was my problem. I didn't measure. I'm going too quick. That's okay. So you're gonna wrap it around here. Wrap it around. I see that didn't make it, but we have enough of the other strand to get it through. So give it a cut. Tuck that in where I wanted it. There we go. And wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it. Wrap it rapidly. Rapidly wrap it. Rabidly wrap it. Wrap it like you're rabid. Like you've been bitten by the bug and now you're rapidly wrapping. Like a rabbit. I'm going to separate those, make that a little cooler. I'm going to separate them at the top too. There you go, now it's a little funky. Give that a little over crimp right there. That's cool, I like that. Give that one 2. Cool. Crimp these 2. Sometimes crimping just makes it extra freaking awesome. Yeah, I like that better. Now it looks a little bit less pretty and more like harsh, like a man. Like a manly. You can feel the pain now. Up there, make sure these are tight. Make sure none of them are going to move around too much. If you feel like they are, just give them some crimps. All right, let's do some more. This one was super easy. As mentioned, you know, you don't need to make it fancy. Like, I just went bend, 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 one little loop, and then come up the back. That's it. And because you have like little crevices and cracks to shove the wire in, it's a lot easier than wrapping a smooth round stone to just keep the wire in place. And, you know, that's it. This is fun. You guys should make some deer antler jewelry for the reason that, first of all, it's amazing. Secondly, you know that all the deer that feel guilty about all the accidents they cause finally feel like they have a way of giving back to the community. As I mentioned, a lot of their antlers are shed, so the deer don't even need to be hurt to get the antlers, although, you know, some may argue it's more exciting to have to battle the deer, but, you know, deer wrestling. Some guys will say they just want it extra simple, like they don't want any fancy stuff at all. So you just, especially with these simple tips, you just put the wire through, bring it to the middle, twist it a couple times, give yourself that loop, and just wrap it. That's it. Wrap it up, scarf it, hold it tight so the scarf is good. Cut and tuck those sharp ends. Kind of feel which way it's going to lay flat. You don't want it like this where the point is sticking out to stab someone. You kind of have it lay flat and adjust it a little bit, and that's it. You can just put the cord right through like that. I mean, or if you want to make it a little bit more decorative, you can turn it this way and then put jump rings and then put the cord. But I mean, this is just easy. Just go with it, right? If it needs to be a little tighter, give it a crimp. That's it. Very simple. You can also separate the strands and do like cool crisscross stuff, right? You know, all kinds of stuff. So how long do you make these cords? Well, you make them adjustable. The average guy will like them somewhere between 18 to 24 inches. You don't have to make them adjustable that wide, but somewhere in the 20-inch range is good. And then just bring your tools with you if you're gonna sell or if you're gonna give it as a gift and you need to adjust it. It's better to make it a little longer because then you can cut it shorter. And for the ends, you can literally just tie a knot with a loop and super glue it, but it's neater to have these little attachments. Make sure you get the ones that are made for 2mm. Now I got these antique brass ones. They're actually too big, which is kind of cool because I figured out I can go through them twice. It's tight, but it just fits perfectly enough. I feel like that actually gives it a cooler look. Then you can crimp both ends, which gives it a tighter crimp. I usually add a drop of super glue, but if you're crimping both ends, that's way plenty of strength. That's not going to come undone. And then you have like this little loop at the end to attach jump rings on one side, a lobster clasp on the other side. Try to find a big lobster clasp because men have these big bulky fingers that can't handle dainty little clasps. So this big monster came from an extra large lobster who was willing to give up his claws to sacrifice, knowing they'd be going to a good cause. Claws for a cause. These lobsters donate their claws for this. It's really good. You only want to clasp one end, and then you want to put your beads on, and then you want to slide your piece on because you want it to fit in between the beads just right. Or you could put it on later with jump rings if you're going to use jump rings. If you're not going to use jump rings, you're sliding it directly on, then make sure you put it between the beads the way place you want it. Get yourself a good bead reamer because sometimes these wooden beads need to be opened up a little bit. They get full of splinters. If your wooden beads don't fit at all, you can actually get a drill. Again, a drill is something really useful to have just for simple home repairs. I would invest. You could get one for like $30. That'll do the job. The drill can open up the holes too. I actually was in a pinch. I didn't have my drill or anything nearby, and I took my wood burner. I didn't use my fingers. I was holding it with pliers, but I opened up the holes of the bead like that so that I could fit it through the 2mm leather. But anyway, give yourself a cool pattern. It doesn't have to be all the way down the whole leather. It can be, but that's like overkill, I think. Just nice accent, like 2 inches of beads on each side of your pendant. Once you kind of lined up the beads all on the cord that you're going to use and you brought it to the middle of your cord, you can tie a knot in front of the end of each bead to keep them from sliding up and down where you don't want them to. It's just simple accent. That's kind of a cool accent too, is that little knot. Just do it on one side and then push it tight, get it to the other. Put your final clasp on. Put your lobster clasp on. Put a few jump rings on the end to make it adjustable. You can literally put a whole string of like 6 inches of jump rings if you want it really adjustable. Here's another trick. If you find you made it too long and you're already put your ends on it and you don't want to have to redo it, just add some more knots like accents going up every inch on each side, and that will shorten it significantly. And that way you can shorten it up right on the spot without having to cut or reapply anything. You can also just use a single cord. You don't need to do the beads. It's up to you. Guys tend to like it better with the beads, but you can knock out a lot of them a lot faster if you just put them on a cord and charge a little bit less, and guys like that too. Anything deer antler guys will buy because they like the feeling of having conquered another animal, especially one as ferocious as a deer. It just fills them with a sense of masculine power. That's why they like to carry these types of necklaces on them. You will immediately endear yourself, no pun intended, to the man whom you grace with this amazingly, powerfully masculine necklace. Although it can be for women too.